What do we mean by structure? When we're talking about structure, we're talking about the systems and the practices that create clarity in an organization. Again, you want people to be in the room to easily be able to identify the pathway, the door, the window, whatever it is that you want them to go through. It has to be easily identifiable.
What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of the Future's Here podcast, where we discuss everything you need to lead the next generation, right? And we are in a 3-part series on building a healthy organizational culture.
Yes.
And so we walked through that about values. We talked about values last time, right,
Robert? The foundation.
The foundation is the values. We kind of ended too, I thought on a note that I just want to bring up again. It's really about you becoming who you were created to be. That's the genesis of all this. Like, if you're a healthy person, you'll be a healthy leader who will lead healthy organizations. Yeah. We want to help give you the tools and strategy on how to do that. And so, first time we talked about values. Part 2, we're talking about structures. And structures really, Robert, they're the backbone of the culture.
Yeah.
It's when we talked about having actionable, like lived out behaviors of your values, the structures are the way to do that. That's how we do that. So
yeah, and I think a lot of leaders don't really think about it that way. I think their structures, whatever structures they do have, are completely disconnected from their value systems, right? But without structure, the problem is everything just becomes unpredictable, right? You don't have clear expectations from people. Pressure rises all the time when you have to make decisions, and eventually, again, like we keep saying, culture drifts into something that you never even intended to happen from the beginning. And so this is why I think leaders overlook structure often, because they don't realize how important structures are to embody your values.
Yeah.
Like it's a terrible analogy, but this is God became flesh.
Yeah.
This is essentially that. Values become flesh in your structures.
Right.
And without that, we have a hard time relating or even understanding your values, because we don't really know what it means. What does it mean to, embody this value? Oh, right. Well, it's here. It's proceduralized. It's policy. It's operational guidelines. It's all of these things, right?
And just to be really clear on a structure can be a lot of different things. It could be how you frame a conversation. It could be a policy. It could be a physical structure.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you wanted your team to be more collaborative, you could take down the cubicle walls, right? Hey, why do you do that? Hey, we do that. We could do church in the round. Why do you do that? Because there's a value to say, hey, we all want to feel like we're together. There's a community here. So you could actually build physical structures. You could build structures that are policy, structures that are a piece of paper that you fill out. That could be a structure. So they're really wide. The idea behind this is really, there's a book written that's called The Path of Least Resistance. And the idea is that if we were stuck in this room, right? We're in a room right now, and I said, Robert, there's a fire. We got to get out, right? Now, there's a bunch of different ways we can get out of this room, right?
Yeah.
We could take that ladder, go through the roof maybe, and then cut our way through, or go through the vent right there, or we could bang against the wall and find something to destroy and make a hole in the wall and to get out. Or the path of least resistance here is there's a door, like right there, that all you have to do is just open the door. So what happens is the metaphor, the analogy of that pathway. So if you're in a park and there's a pathway that's clearly marked here, and there's a pathway that goes here, and people get halfway on that pathway and then decide, oh, I actually wanted the other pathway. Well, then they cut through the lawn. Yeah. And eventually enough people do that, and now there's another structure.
Yeah.
Right? It's what we want to do as leaders is what's the intentional structures we want to create for the path of least resistance, so that we get the behavior that we really want.
Yeah. And there can be multiple structures. The path of least resistance is actually gradual, right? A doorway with no door is less resistant than a doorway with a door.
Yeah.
A doorway with a door is less resistant than a window that doesn't open.
Right, yeah.
A window is less resistant than a wall, right? So there are gradual structures that become gradually more resistant. The problem is when you put somebody in a room and yell fire and there are no doors or windows or ceiling tiles. It's just one big old concrete room. And you're like wondering, like, why can't you get out? I don't understand. Why do I have to keep telling you how to get out of this room? Exactly. And what happened is you created a secret door that nobody knows about. And you're just like, I don't understand. Why don't
Actually,
you go out?
That's a really great point, because do you guys out there ever feel like that, where I'm not getting it? There's some type of secret knowledge that other people have here where they're successful and I'm not. Why does this keep on happening to me? Like, and there are things that, and that's a real thing. That secret door thing is a real thing in organizations, right?
For sure.
And that's how people, a blame culture will create things like that, so that there's secret knowledge, and so only certain people get to move up. And there are structures placed in that. Like the secret door is a structure, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Right. And that reason is to help other people and not help other people. Like, so, and then you can get into systemic issues like that we see in our world today. We don't want to be leaders like that. So without structure, everything becomes unpredictable and people will create their own structures. Yeah. Thanks so much for tuning in. Before we continue, if you like the show and want to continue to support us, the free and simple way to do that is to simply subscribe. And so we'll do our best to continue to create content to help you in your leadership. Yes. Now, what you want to do as a leader is be intentional. And I'll say this, you actually want to, there's a whole nother mental model called a freedom V, but you actually want to get your people and create a healthy enough culture where they're creating their own structures. Yeah. Right? That help them and their team reach the thing that they're trying to reach their vision and their goals and those kind of things. I don't want to be the guy that is in control and the creator and the maintainer of all these structures. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know me, dude. That is not my gifting. That's not who I was created to be. But the idea, though, is that when you don't have these structures, expectations become unclear, pressure rises, eventually the culture drifts into something you didn't intend on. And you're like, what's the problem here? And here's I'll give you a little bonus, a little secret. Here's the deal. Most of the times, then leaders want to blame somebody. Oh, well, they just weren't the right person, or they're lazy, or they're whatever. We would say a mental model would be SLY, S-L-Y. 85% of the problem that you're experiencing is a structure issue. Yeah. You just don't have the right structure in place. Yeah.
And so people don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. So they're making up, they're all over the place. 10% is the leadership issue. I'm not communicating it well enough. Yeah. That's all me. 5% is you're just not the right person for. Yeah. We got to move you on.
We usually start the other way.
We start the other way. It was like 85% like this their problem, or 99% it's somebody else's problem. That's a blame culture. You don't want that.
Yeah. So today what we want to do, Tommy, is unpack everything about the role that structure plays in culture. I'll give you, I was sharing with you this story, Tommy. I'll share with our listeners earlier that I was having dinner with some friends and she was asking me about her organization, the workplace that she's at. And she was struggling with a lot of things. As a manager, she was like, man, I can't, these people are just being disrespectful. They're not following the rules. They're, I've told them over and over. I told them over and over and over, and they keep making the same mistake. And I'm just listening to all this. And the first thing I said, I was like, yep, you got a culture problem. Yeah. He's like, well, what do you mean? I go, yeah, you have a culture problem. And primarily it's a structural issue. Yeah. And so I went through explaining kind of what structures were. And for example, one of the things was timesheets. I'm like, do you have a really clear written policy that's communicated? And like, well, we have one, but everybody gets it at the beginning. And these people have been there 10 years, Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you have to keep reinforcing that. So a policy about when and how to turn in your timesheet and the consequences for it needs to be reiterated until people get it, right? If you have to send the policy every month until people start following it, okay. But here's the thing that policies and structures do, Tommy, is they move the pressure away from you of having to have those conversations. Hey, point to the policy. Here's our policy. Let me just remind you of our policy. Yeah. It's not, let me just remind you what I want from you and what I need from you. Why are you not feeling what I need from you? Why are you keep making the same mistake? I just have to say, hey, Let me just remind you again about our policy.
And that would point to a blame culture where it's like, I need somebody to blame. Here's the great thing is that when you have a policy, here's the other beautiful thing about structures is you can also fix them, make them better. Hey, this doesn't actually work. What is it that we really want for this to do? And then that's a value conversation into a structure piece.
Yeah.
Hey, do we need to come up with a different way of doing this? And so you're addressing that instead of like, well, you guys are all idiots. Like, what's your problem? And it's like, well, maybe the structure's messed up, which again, we would say most likely that's probably the problem.
85% of the time, that's what it is. Well, let's be really clear though, because I know this is probably new terminology for a lot of our leaders. What do we mean by structure? When we're talking about structure, we're talking about the systems and the practices that create clarity in an organization. Again, you want people to be in the room to easily be able to identify the pathway, the door, the window, whatever it is that you want them to go through. It has to be easily identifiable, right? There are actually rules and regulations and laws and codes when you build a building about exit signs. Yeah. They have to be clear and visible. Everywhere you go, you probably don't even see them anymore because they're so ubiquitous, right? Everywhere you go, you see exit signs. Now, why are they there? Because they want the pathway to be clear for you. Those are structures put in place so that if there's an emergency, you know exactly how to get out. Yeah. And a lot of times what we do, again, is we build structures that don't have any signage, any pathways, any clarity. So it's really just about creating clarity for your organization. So what are the kinds of things, Tommy, that we're talking about? What does structure really include?
Yeah, it's things like policies that define boundaries, like time off, like HR, work hours, compensation. There's things like that just brings that clarity. Procedures that outline the steps of getting things done. Hey, here's how we do onboarding. Here's how we get a check cut. Here's all these type of things, right? Reimbursement requests, those kind of things. Process that create consistency across the organization. Here's how we budget. Here's our strategic planning. Here's performance man, all those kind of things, right? Systems and tools that support productivity and communication. And these are all things too that are constantly getting reworked. Like, is this working well? And when it works well, nobody touches it.
You have to evolve with your organization.
Yeah, and well, that's the other part of it too. Hey, we need, before there were 5 of us that needed to get through this door at one time, so we made it this wide. Now there's 20 of us. We need some type of other system, either make it wider or whatever. Expectation around availability and accountability, rhythms that guide your week, your month, and your year. Like, how do we work best? And part of this too, when you're the door analogy, when you looked at designers who are coming up with designing doors, right? I saw this whole documentary on it where they're like, well, you have to make it so intuitive for people. If you're going to build a new type of handle, how do you push it? Those ones with the bar, you push it. Oh, well, that makes sense. But there are doors that got made that's like, I'm not sure, why isn't this opening? If you've ever had to take down a stroller, like those are some of the most unintuitive, especially a while ago, right? Where it's like, how do you get this thing to fold up? Not intuitive, right? And a lot of resistance in that path. So those are the things that you can take, those kind of, structures that really are the skeleton of your culture. Those are the things that hold everything in place and give shape to what you want to build, right? Now, you could also, if you've ever been to a place where you're like, this is why are there 5 doors to get to the bathroom? Like, what? This, or you ever buy a house and then you're like, why did they put a wall here? Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense. Well, so it's like that, right?
Well, too many pathways can be confusing as well.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's the whole idea about menus, right? It's like if you have too many decisions to make about a menu, it just becomes overwhelming and you're just going to default to the same thing over and over. Right. And so a lot of times we think making more doorways is actually the better answer, when it's really not. It's just making a better doorway is the answer.
And again, we would go back to your value system to make those value decisions on why you need to make this structure and how should we design it.
Now, one of the things though, Tommy, we hear criticism about structures is that, you know what? We like to be really creative and flexible. And so structures just kind of get in the way of that. Like, we don't want to have too many policies and procedures. We just want people to, find their own way, make their own path kind of thing.
Right.
And like, we get that. But at the same time, what we realize is healthy structures actually create a lot of freedom for people.
Yeah.
Right? Because when people know the boundaries, oh, this is where I can't cross, they stop. They don't have to guess. Well, where's the boundary? How far can I go? Like, you know what I mean? It's, again, you're giving people too many decisions to make that are not really that important.
Right.
I always I use this as an example. Is like, look, if you had a 3-year-old, a toddler, right, and you had a big backyard, and that backyard didn't have a fence, and there was a busy street right on the other side of that yard, trucks whizzing by, right? Would you let your toddler run around that yard?
No.
It's freedom, though. It's flexibility. There's no boundaries. The kid can do whatever they want. I'm not limiting their creativity,
including
and
dying.
Flexibility, right?
Yeah.
But everybody would be like, well, that's foolish. Of course not. Yeah. Right. So you create a wall, right, around your yard. And what happens? Oh, now you have freedom. The baby still has freedom, the toddler, right? There's flexibility. It's just that it knows how far it can go now. So within the context of that yard, it has full freedom and creativity and flexibility. But sometimes we just think, oh, I can't put those boundaries, because no, boundaries can also create safety.
Yeah, and that's the core. The core lie is that freedom means that there's no rules or no boundaries. No,
that's called chaos.
Again, that's chaos. And that's why we go back to values. There's a set of values that we live by. Those are the guardrails, if you will, the fence, right? That just goes, hey, no, we always work within these boundaries. Now, to your people, again, there's a big old yard there, right? There is another mental model called the Freedom V that we would say, hey, the clearer you are on the boundaries, right? And the more people prove that they're responsible within those boundaries, you move them up. Yeah. And they have more freedom. That's how you get people to really the gift of who they are to run and create their own structures and their own, boundaries for their people. And so that works out really well. And so when people know the boundaries, stop guessing, they stop reinventing the wheel. Gosh, that's always frustrating where it's like, there's 5 different ways to do things. Or
think about it on the other side, like just take a finance example, right? Our accountant has to cut the checks, but they're getting check requests in 15 different formats and forms, and some people are attaching receipts and others not. That creates a bottleneck and a lot of extra work for one person. It's not freedom.
And again, I would go back to values. Hey, if we say we value people, well, we're not, right? In this instant, we need to create a structure that actually values this person's work and helps that move, in a better way. So there's things like that. And when expectations are clear, they can, people can focus on doing good work instead of trying to interpret. Like, do you know how much energy gets spent on just bull crap? Like, just like, why is it like this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever go to Robert, when I first met him, you were frustrated about the salsa bar.
Oh, yes. There's a particular taco shop.
There's the particular taco place, and you were just like, why do they do it like that?
Yeah.
But what was irritating about it?
Well, there was just no way for more than one person to be at the salsa bar at the same time.
Yeah.
You had to wait in line, and then you had to get the little cups from a completely separate place. And so everybody would go, and you sat there standing with your cups waiting for the one person, who's getting a cup of every single salsa and then bagging it up. And I'm just like,
put that little lid on it.
Why can you just not have it in the round where you can have multiple people going around it, Anyway, it would drive me crazy. But it had a structure. And the thing, they were like, oh, we want people to get their own amount of salsa. There's freedom in that. Yeah. It's free. And it ended up creating more frustration. Half the people left without grabbing salsa because of it.
Right.
It was so bad.
So that's what we would call a weak structure.
A weak structure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when those structures are weak or inconsistent, let's talk about this. They can be weak, inconsistent, or missing altogether. But a weak structure, people just start filling the gaps with their own assumptions. Oh, I guess this is how I'm supposed to grab the salsa. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
where instead it should be really obvious what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to make up your own assumptions, right? Because those assumptions will produce inconsistency in the way that things happen.
I will say too on this one, it can also feel like, oh, is this about like controlling people? No, it's the exact opposite. Again, you want to create clear boundaries and paths of least resistance.
Yeah.
So that people in this example can enjoy some salsa, right? Like that's the point. It's not, I don't want to control people. I don't want to make sure like the line needs to be, I want you to get salsa because it makes your tacos better. So whatever you're trying to do, the value that you're bringing to the world, your business or the church or a nonprofit, whatever it is, like that's the point of it. It's not, I don't want to control people, but right. Cause it's not like Big Brother. Like we're trying, I want to make sure, look, we want people to lead better lives. That's why we're all in this work. Therefore we create structures that make sense connected to values so that they can experience that.
You're not trying to be the, what was that guy called? The soup Nazi on Seinfeld?
Yeah. Right. Like
you have to order a certain way. You have to stand in line a certain way.
Right.
You can't say that's not what we're trying to do.
No, we want you to enjoy soup.
Yeah. So weak structures where they show up are things like inconsistency in decision making. Like, wait, last time you made this decision and it's the same situation, but now you're making a different decision. Like,
because one day I was hungry and the other one wasn't. Yeah,
absolutely.
It was just random.
Creates confusion about authority. Wait, who gets to make that decision? I thought I could just ask this person, but apparently no, they have to ask somebody else, right? There's ambiguity around roles. Well, I thought that was my job. What? Isn't it my job to do this? Well, no, it's your job too. Like, wait, how is it both our jobs? And who's supposed to do it, right? Meetings that have no purpose. Oh, man.
Dude.
Just for the sake of like having to appease the leader, everybody's in these meetings that everybody's like, again, the silent groaning, going back to our previous episode, right? People are like, why are we in this meeting?
That's a culture thing here because we hate that so much. I hear some of you guys out there like, oh, it was like a 4-hour meeting. I'm like, I might just not have the maturity for that. I can't do that.
I mean, we'll do that once or twice a year.
Strategic planning, right? But on a regular basis, that is crazy. But for us, it's a cultural thing. So we also, we had structures of like working genius. Oh, we know everybody's working. You don't need to be in this meeting.
Yeah.
So feel free,
Yeah.
So
there's also processes that change depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I just asked that person. They said, no, it's ABC. And now you're telling me it's BCA?
Isn't that, tell me that's not the most frustrating thing ever. Somebody got through the line and you did it. And you're like.
So instead, what I do is I create a third process that's my own.
Yeah.
Workloads then are unpredictable because we don't know, like, oh, how much am I supposed to take on or not take on? And then this is probably just a really pet peeve of mine is policies that are on paper, but they're ignored in practice.
Yeah.
Like if you have a policy and you took the time to write it, then you should be enforcing it.
Yeah.
Because you thought it was important enough, right?
Yeah.
Now, if it's not the right policy, then rewrite it.
Yeah, have a conversation.
Yeah. But those policies have to be enforced. They have to be practiced. Now, that's for weak structures. Now, inconsistent structures means that your systems actually, going back to what you said, Tommy, don't support the values that you claim to believe. And so people then become cynical, like, oh, I don't know why this structure is
demoralized. Yeah. I mean, and your whole culture feels it. That's the stuff we feel when we walk into places where we're like, oh, like people are not excited to be here.
Yeah, they value we love God and love people, and then you get this unwarm welcome reception, and you're like, wait, what happened? They notice things that you say you're about transparency, but then all the decisions you make are behind closed doors, and you're not telling me why you made this decision, right? Just follow it. They notice again when you say, well, we value rest, but we encourage burnout. I mean, I know you don't know any organizations or churches like this, Tommy.
We're filming this in December.
I know you don't know any places like this.
And this is the worst time for churches like that.
Yeah, we value rest, but let's all burn out.
But not really.
Or same thing. You value collaboration, but we're organized in silos.
Yeah. I mean, we had some of that here.
Yeah.
Like we realized, man, the structure of how we built this, like people are isolated. So
and we're having to rethink that as we change our strategy. We don't want to try to fit our strategy into the silos that worked for a while. And hear us. Silos will work for a time period.
Yeah.
They might make you efficient initially, but eventually you're going to have to break those silos or reorganize those silos. So those are inconsistent structures. Missing structures. Now, when there's just something that's missing, Tommy, what happens is we start relying on the people.
Yeah, it becomes personality driven, right?
Personality driven. Whoever has the strongest voice becomes the most influential. And they're the ones who end up shaping how everything's done. Right? I've seen those individuals like that. And again, let's go back to something you said in the last episode, which is really important. As a leader, your voice carries double the weight.
Yeah.
So if you're, as a leader, the loudest person in every meeting, in every room, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a bunch of silent people who never speak up because, oh, well, it must be that it's personality driven.
There's no reason to.
There's no reason to. They're going to say everything, right? And it begins to create resentment because you start to realize that, the skill I really need is I need to know how to read people.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us coming from trauma, we're really good at that anyway. So
rather than, here's the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Clarity,
Instead, I'm like, there's 5 people standing there. What do I...
Yeah.
Do I ask one of them? It's just really bad. So structure communicates what it is that you really value. So you have to be careful about weak structures, about inconsistent structures, and about missing structures. But there are some essential structures, Tommy, when we're talking about culture building. So if you've been listening to us going like, okay, but what do you mean? What are they?
What are the core things?
What are the core things? Here are the core things. Let's talk about what some of those are, Tommy.
Yeah, so number one, like just clear policies, right? And policies are the guardrails. They define what is acceptable and what is not. Good policies keep people safe and keep expectations fair. And they should be simple, understandable, and consistently applied. I've seen organizations that have huge amounts of policy. Now, like for our board, our policy governance, it's pretty small. And we go over those policies, a quarter of those every meeting.
Yeah.
And they're like wide policies. Internally, our HR policy, like they're not huge, but we have really clear policies on how we look at things, and they're value driven. For instance, we just went to unlimited PTO, right?
Yeah.
Which that people might be like, what, right? But the only way we could do that is that we have another structure called performance development plans that have clear KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. If that structure wasn't in place, the PTO policy wouldn't make any sense because people would abuse it. They'd be like, we are really clear. Hey, as long as you're getting your work done, dude, make sure you go rest. No problem.
Yeah. And we're trusting you to decide when that is.
You decide that.
I'm not telling you.
Right. And so we have the structures are in place so that we could actually provide that for our people as well.
Yeah. The second thing is standard procedures. So procedures really are outlines of how things should be done. And again, I cannot emphasize how much a good procedure will reduce confusion and make sure everybody's aligned, right? Everybody has to follow the same procedure for requesting payment, right? For whether we're paying somebody else or whether we're asking for a reimbursement, right? A good procedure actually clarifies what those steps are without trying to micromanage people. Because if you know the 5 steps to getting a check, I don't need to. You don't need to come ask me every time, and I don't need to keep telling you. You just follow those 5 steps, and it gets done. Right. So clear policies, standard procedures. Third,
it's a predictable processes. Right. So these are things that it creates a consistency across the organization. So things like hiring and onboarding and evaluation and communication, project planning, conflict resolution. Like for us here. Robert's been really amazing at this, and some other team members as well, at creating the tools. Like here is the thing, right? And something I can hear Robert say in my mind is, hey, where's the ideation for? It's on the Dropbox. It's like
it's in that folder.
It's always there. Okay, yeah. So there's just a predictable processes. Like this is how we do this. It makes it a whole lot easier.
But here's the reason for that, right? So initially, everyone was coming to me asking me for where's this document, where's this template, what should I use when I'm writing a contract? I was like, oh, you know what? I don't want to be the structure. Yeah. Let me build the structure so that people will then know where to go. And it took a while. There was still, even after we sent the email and said, hey, this is going to be basically our library of everything that you need. And my job is to keep that updated. Your job is to go look for it there first before you ask me. Right.
Do the work. Yeah.
And at first it took a while, there was still questions, and then you have to remind people. But now I never get any questions about that unless they can't find something there, and then they'll ask, and that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fine. But we created a structure that everybody, and a pathway for everybody to go solve their own problems, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to come to me.
That's an empowerment deal. So you just said something that was really important. I want to make sure people capture it. You are not the structure.
Yeah.
You don't want to become the structure. And what's one of the ways that you can understand that you're building like an unhealthy culture is like when you are the path of least resistance for everybody. So for instance, Robert can easily become that. Hey, Robert knows everything. He's super talented. He has all this stuff. So I could just always be like, hey, Rob, can you do this? Hey, Rob, can you do that? And then you're the one that's like, you're carrying all that. Well, what if Rob leaves? Now we're all screwed because nothing is written up. There's no structures. Nothing lives on past Robert. And that's a huge problem. So the next one is systems and tools. These are the platforms, the resources that support your workflows, project management tools, communication platform, file management, task systems, internal documentation. With this one too, it takes a long time to figure out the right tools.
Yes, it
and
does.
Structures.
And there's going to be hit and misses.
Yeah, I mean, we tried, what was the? Asana. We tried, you try things and then you learn from it, you act, learn, adjust. And so it takes time, but that's a really important thing. Give the time and effort, which a lot of us don't like to do. Leaders don't like to do that. But time and effort to figure those out and get those in.
And that's the thing. A system and a tool, Tommy, should make things more streamlined and better for you.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a burden.
If the tool becomes a burden for your team, you got the wrong tool or the wrong process, right? Or the wrong system. So we have to be able to adjust, and that's what happened with us with Asana. It was like, this just isn't working for us. It's creating too much effort to keep that updated instead of actually doing the work.
Right, and you find this a lot in government spaces. It's like when you get like a federal grant, it almost takes more effort to do the documentation for the federal grant than what the money is supposed to be used for. So.
And it's the same level for whether you're getting 10,000 or 100,000.
Or 100,000, or 3 million or whatever it is. So number 5, rhythm and flow, like rhythms, heartbeat of the organization, right? Weekly staff meetings, leadership check-ins. I remember we had to start implementing those when I came on and going, how are we going to do it different? What are we going to keep? What does this look like? Planning sessions, communication updates, annual resets. Those are all really important structures to think through.
Yeah. And then expectations and agreements, this is really important. And it's interesting to me that a lot of the leaders we work with don't have these.
Yeah.
Role clarity, job descriptions, accountability, availability, response time. The number of leaders that don't write job descriptions for their people.
It's pretty crazy.
It's pretty crazy to me because how can you hold anybody accountable to anything if it was all verbal, this is what you're doing and let me show you.
And again, that's a value. Some of the reasons people do that is so that they can continue to put more on their people.
Yeah.
And the leader is not held accountable. Look, I'm telling you, if you want to care for that person well, therefore you create clarity.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
a structure.
Weird. It seems obvious, but yet I feel like leaders don't get this. People cannot meet expectations they don't understand. How can you do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so these are the structures, these systems create an environment where our culture can grow and remain stable. And so listen, it doesn't matter how great your mission is, your values will begin to weaken, or your values and your mission will begin to weaken if you don't have these structures in place. So 3 things really quickly, Tommy. We're going to tell people how they can improve structures in their organization. The first thing is this. You have to identify what are the greatest areas of inconsistency.
This takes humility, friends. You got to ask this. You have to do it.
Question. Ask your team, hey, where's their confusion? Where is it showing up? Where do decisions feel unclear? Right? Where are processes breaking down? Where does the workload feel unpredictable? Your team knows where all the weak spots are because they're the ones living it day in and day
out. They have
out.
to deal with it, yeah.
Don't make assumptions about what people are experiencing. Ask them what they're experiencing. So listening to your team is the first step in strengthening your structure.
No, let me add something to this. This is really important. Okay, back to the mental model SLY, right? So structure, leadership, you know what I mean? Like it's the person, right? So the idea of that is one of the reasons leaders don't want to ask all this is because they feel like it's a reflection on them. Like, oh man, if they bring up all the bad stuff, that means I'm a sucky leader. No. What that means is if 85% of it is structure and only 10% or 15. 15% is you as the leader or 10% is you as the leader not communicating well, and 5% it might be the person that's not a good fit. Then that also means that 85% of this issue is not you.
Yeah.
It's just a structure. Look at it like that. And it's not, when your people bring up what's confusing, it's not like you're confusing. It's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, separate your identity from the structure and go, oh, let's fix that structure.
Yeah.
That means 85% of, it's not you. 10% might be you not communicating well. 5% might be, this is just not the right person for the right.
Yeah.
The thing. So
first thing is identify those areas of inconsistency. The second thing is this: if you're going to start somewhere, just make sure you simplify before you expand. Don't be like, hey team, I just learned about structures and we're going to put in all of these structures all at once.
We're burning everything down. Don't do that.
Oh my gosh. Strong structures are actually very simple. Again, think of a doorway. A doorway is very simple, right? It's not complicated. Weak structures tend to be more complicated.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Start by just reducing clutter. Where is there like an excess amount of work for very little value? Figure that out, right? And sometimes, again, maybe you have like this super long process for approving reimbursements. Do you really need that? Like, can you simplify that, right? Remove unnecessary steps, get rid of redundant meetings, clarify for people who's making the decisions on what. And then making sure that, you realize that when structures get too heavy, people will just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's
like make their own way.
If I have to enter 50 combinations to get through the door,
I don't want to get in that room.
I don't want to go in that room at all. I'm just not going to go there, right? So, but when structure is simple, if it's just a single big bar that says push here, people will go through that.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, man, just document the essentials. For some reason, I feel like let me just say it, in Christendom, in church world, like documentation is evil.
It's weird.
Why is that?
I don't know, man.
Like, we don't document anything, it feels like. And so, but here's the thing, like if something really matters, we should write it down for everybody else so that they can actually read it for themselves. And
we misapplied by the idea of by faith.
Yes.
By faith, you will know what you're supposed to do here.
Yeah. Right. And especially if there's a process that repeats itself all the time, you got to document that. Again, if it has implications, if a decision has implications, then you got to share it widely. So documentation actually protects clarity, and it also makes sure that that's fair. That everybody's seeing the same thing, everybody's experiencing the same thing. So the one thing to remember about this, though, is building a structure is not a one-time task. Just like our values and like our culture, it requires maintenance. And as your team evolves, the structure should evolve with it. As we're talking about right now, we're about to shift a lot of our structures because our strategy is changing, right?
Yep.
So you just have to make these adjustments before these small cracks turn into like cultural fractures.
Yeah. So again, values and structure, just to bring it all together. For instance, if you value transparency, your communication structure must reflect it.
Yes.
Like it just has to be consistent, right? If you value empowerment, your decision structure must support that. If you value collaboration, your workflows must encourage it. Right? If you value rest, your workload and scheduling structure must honor it. And so that's what it looks like. So structure really protects your values from drift and ensures your culture does not depend on personalities. And makes your organization fair, predictable, accessible, and sustainable. Now, for you leaders out there that are building all this, hear me say this. When we say ensure your culture does not depend on personalities, at first it feels like an attack on you. Can I just share with you, when you build something out like this, it protects you.
Yeah.
That means it's not all on you. It's on the structures. It means that you're not to blame. It just, the structure needs to be created differently. It gives you so much more freedom. It doesn't mean that you have to be the structure for everybody else. A lot of leaders put that on themselves. They want to be kind of that. We had that whole, a long time ago, pastor daddy, the whole idea, it's all on me. I got to care. That's unsustainable. You'll kill yourself doing that. So hear me, leaders, say, this is for you as well. It's not just for your people. This will bring you a lot of freedom. So we just want to remember this. Structure is not about control. It's about support.
So important.
And so it brings clarity and it protects people's time. It helps you do and be the leader you're created to be. So we have one more episode in this. And what are we going to be talking about? Relationships and building a healthy culture. So we hope this has been helpful for you. There's so much to this. That's why we're actually here. We can help coach you. We have programs for you to go through to learn how to actually do this. We hope that you subscribe, like, share, and we'll see you on the next Futures Here podcast. Peace.
See you.